Get ready to laugh your socks off. Or not, we don't care. It's a couple of laughs with Carole Louise, seen on Showtime and Comedy Central. And her husband from The Tonight Show and runner-up on America's Got Talent, Tom Cotter. Buckle up, because this married for too long couple is ready to distract you from reality. Please welcome Carole Louise and Tom Cotter.
We're back. We missed you guys for 2 weeks. We hope everybody had a happy holiday and happy New Year, everybody. And we have a great show for you tonight. Harry, our producer, is here.
Hey, yeah, like she said, welcome back. Hope everyone had great holidays. Hope you guys missed us. And because I know we missed doing that. And she's right. We do have a very special guest, very special show today. Welcome to another segment of Canceling Cancel Culture. You have seen her on Showtime. She is a comedy mogul. Some like to refer to her as the mother of comedy. She's amazing. Our friend, Carole Montgomery. Yes. Carole, thank you so much for coming on today. It's amazing, and we are so lucky to have you on the show. This segment is kind of just a safe place for comedians to share stories, experiences on and off stage. Talk about whatever you want, and yeah, we won't cancel you for it. So you have the floor is basically yours. But I did want to ask you first: has cancel culture affected you directly, and what are your thoughts on it throughout the industry?
Well, yeah, very good question, Harry. I know a lot of comics feel like they have to they have to tippy-toe around it. But I just do dick jokes, and dick jokes are evergreen, and really can't. Do you know what I mean? You can't. There's nobody gets offended by dick jokes. So really, I mean, like I know people that are like, oh, I'm worried about. I've been doing stand up for over 40 years.
Wow.
And, yeah, and I've never ever. Bowed to whatever the outside forces. I go out, I look, I go, okay, it's an audience, and I do my shit. I got a call once from one of my old managers, and he said, so-and-so doesn't want to, so-and-so says you're being too dirty in front of him. I said, well, that's because I'm better than him, and he can't follow me.
Good answer.
Yeah, but I've never, and I know a lot of comics feel different about it, but I'm like, you know what? I've been doing the same jokes for 40 years. So, it's literally the same app. I haven't changed anything.
If it ain't broke, you don't fix it, goddammit.
Exactly, Tom.
And Carole, if you were a guy they would never say a guy's too dirty. Right. That guy was too dirty and doesn't want to go in front of me. They would say that guy's, he's good. He's really good.
He's strong. You're right. No,
yeah, he's strong.
They always had to. With me, it was always because I was a woman. Always.
Right. Exactly. So, like, a woman can't be good. She has to be dirty, or she has to be this, or she has to be that. Right. I'm sorry, Tom, but it's true.
Well, here's the thing. She said that her old manager said that the guy didn't want to follow her. It's because he couldn't follow her. That's why. Doesn't matter. If you're the headliner, you should be able to follow anybody, or you shouldn't be the headliner. That's the way it works.
Right.
This was before the internet, before you have people who are like TikTok phenomenons who are going into stand-up and then can't follow anybody because, all they do is, the twerking. So, do you know, like, if you're going to be a comic who closes a show, when young comics come up to me, because I'll always get, like, especially guys will go, well, I'm a little dirty. Is it okay if I'm dirty in front of you? And I'm like, honey, if I can't follow you, I shouldn't be headlining.
Right. Yeah, I get that question too. Is there anything you don't want me to say? And it's like, I should have so much more material that if you say something that's similar to mine, if I'm the headliner, I should be professional enough to avoid it, or say something that goes along with yours, or make it work.
Yeah, that's usually what I do. If there's somebody who has something similar, I will always bring it back. I'll go, oh, did you see what so-and-so said? Well, and then here's my take on it. So
yeah. And segue into your stuff off of their stuff. That's right. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's what a professional who's been doing it for 40 years like you have can do.
40 years. I could have killed somebody twice and been out of jail by now.
Good math.
Yeah.
Thank God you chose a different route, huh?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think being a criminal now is probably a much better idea. I think I should, in my elderly years, I should be an elderly assassin.
Ooh.
Wow.
We also want to mention that Harry, graduated, and this was one of his projects, cancel culture, and he's got an A in this.
Well, thank you. You didn't need to give me a little bit of
but
props.
now he's graduated, so this,
This
but
is
he's
just
still
for
loving
fun now.
doing this.
I still have interest in doing it just because I've seen my parents, their whole lives growing up with them and dealing with some backlash, online, offline, after shows and stuff, but nothing crazy. And I just wanted to see if it was, a common theme around all comedians in general. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And you're the first woman guest we've had. So
Except for your mom.
yeah.
And we've only had, just so you know, we've only had 3 other guests, so it's not like we had a bunch of guy comics. You know me, I always book
she's
women
the third. So
whenever I can.
And we're not assuming your gender, by the way. We don't want to offend anybody.
That is
but
very nice of you.
Nice tits. Anyway, keep going. There they are. There it is.
There they are.
I wish the screen was scratching.
Wow, that was.
Hello, everybody.
I thought that was your back.
Damn, there it is. The elderly assassin. That'll kill you. It will.
Yeah.
She is an assassin. She murders on stage. I've seen her do it 1,000 times.
Oh, stop. Yep.
Well, besides Carole's unbelievable comedy career, she also created and stars in and produced Women of a Certain Age. And she was very nice to give Kerry a shot on that, the very first episode of it. And it's gone on to become a franchise. It's wonderful. And we all look back in awe at you creating this thing from nothing and watching it become this acorn into an oak tree of comedy. And bravo to you for that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Harry. You have a few questions on that as well, right?
No, I had questions about where we can watch it. If it's only on TV or is it on streaming services too?
Well, before I tell you that, let me just tell you about your mother. Okay, so what had happened is Julia Scotti was the comic that was doing it, and a week before the show, she calls and says she can't do it because she had open heart surgery and she had an infection. She couldn't do it. She was like, I'm trying, and like a week she says I can't do it. I'm going back into the hospital. It was some big thing.
It's a valid excuse, by the way.
Is it though, Tom?
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah.
The show must go on.
It was a little bitter.
Yeah, and so we called Kerry and your mother with a week. Now, as you know, because you grew up around comics, you know that when a comic is getting ready for TV, we spend months getting it, and she got her shit together so fast and destroyed, by the way, on the show. I mean, you know what? But you did, Kerry. I mean, like you're like it's like bringing a lefty. I mean, this girl, when she came up and she hit it out of the park. Now, as far as where to find it is, Kerry had told me that a couple of her fans are saying it's no longer on Showtime because the first show is not on, and because we had licensed it. But last year, just before we went into this year, we signed a deal with Comedy Dynamics and we're re-releasing all 3 specials.
Oh, that's
awesome. Yay! So
Awesome.
we're re-releasing it. We don't know where yet. They're shopping it around, but we give it. Comedy Dynamics has it. We're like, take it and go and re-release it. So hopefully, we're hoping. Of course, you'll know this because they did this with the first. I think they did it with all 3. No, they did it with the first 2 specials. They want to do something for Women's History Month. So supposedly we're supposed to. We're waiting to see where it's going to land. But that's the big news, and that's where everyone will be able to see it.
Okay.
If anybody wants them, I do actually have all 3 episodes. So if you want to pay me, I'll send them.
Well, Kerry does a private show for me once a month called Women of a Certain Rage. It's a little different, and there's a lot of violence. And I'm hacking off of you. I started something called Men of a Certain Height, and it's Mitch Patel and me and Todd Barry. That's words of comedy. So don't sue us. Please don't sue us.
I would never sue. Yes, go ahead, Harry.
No, I love that story about my mom, and I would be shocked if you were telling me about any other comedian, but since it's my mother and I know her and she's worked so freaking hard ever since I can remember. So That is awesome.
Oh.
She really works really hard. So.
Oh my God! All right, enough about me. Carole
No,
is the star of our show.
And I remember when you asked her to be on the show, she was ecstatic. She was like a little kid on Christmas, and she was so excited. And then we were laughing at her at the same time because they're calling her old, kind of. But she does a whole bit on that.
I know
and,
she doesn't like. She's one of the youngsters. She doesn't like being called old, but that's okay. You know, everyone goes into aging a different way. That's one of the reasons for the show.
Hey, listen, let me just tell you, and let the record show, I was the youngest woman on that show.
Yes, you were.
Yes, that made her feel a little bit better. But the show was a huge eye opener because we've been telling her she's old for forever. But
So thank you, Harry. Thank you for that.
One of the things I love about the show in general is because everyone has a different point of view about life in general, but because it's based on the age thing, everyone has a different view. Some people talk about it. Some people talk about staying young. Some people do it this way. It's fine. That's one of the reasons why we do the show, because like when we did the show, Carrie, with Monique, you guys had totally different views
right.
on, it was also leaning towards staying younger. And I talk about, I'm peeing right now. So do you know what I mean?
That's what's so great about the show. And that's what you're broadcasting to America and to bookers. And I hope they're listening, that you can have a show with a bunch of women, not only a bunch of women, but a bunch of women in the same age bracket, and still have a very, very different show.
Yeah.
But we're bookers, they're like, oh, I have one woman on the show. I can't have another woman. You're going to repeat. What? Right. They would never say that with guys, that you're going to repeat. It's going to be the same thing. Right. They would never say that if it was two guys.
No. And I will say this, since the Golden Globes just happened and Jean Smart won again.
Yes.
I really do think that my show, our show premiered in 2019. And Hacks came out like a year later. If it wasn't for my show, there would not be a Hacks, because we showed them. I mean, our special was the highest rated special on Showtime that year. So I mean,
you paved the way, Carole Montgomery.
That's why I'm a mogul.
Yeah, there's no mistake.
Comedy mogul.
So I hope that we Comedy Dynamics, we can rebrand and get this to take off once again.
Well, that was the whole reason for it. They were very interested, and we talked about possibly doing more, but we want to see how the rollout is. Mm-hmm. Because what I'd like to do, you talked about rebranding, is what I really would like to do is that when we originally came up with the idea, it was never with my partner, Dave, my business partner. He always said, oh, and we'll get a famous woman, which I get why they wanted that, but that's never what the show's been about. The show's always been about showing people who don't need to be, they're not famous, so they need the exposure. I'm hoping to rebrand it as Funny Women of a Certain Age, like Evening at the Improv. Well, I'll be the host. We'll have 3 comics, just that 30-40 minutes. Boom.
Yes.
So that's hopefully where the next.
Yeah, let's bring that back.
Yeah.
And we need it because these comics who have been working hard for years and years and years, they don't have an outlet unless they go on the socials and start doing twerking, like you said.
Yeah, but the thing about social media, and I think with everything that's happening, I'm not going to get political at all, but with everything that's happening right now with social media and what's happening with the owners of social media, I think there's going to be a big shift again, because you know what I mean? Because we as comics, you guys have been around long enough. This. We never needed social media. We just we got on our stage. We got on stage and we told our jokes. And I think we're going to start shifting back that way now.
That sounds good.
You know what I mean?
To God's ears. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like I really do think that social media was great, and I'm really curious to see what happens with everything that's going on with all the big corporations, because I've said this before. All of the social media platforms, they got started by guys who just wanted to get laid. Right? I mean, Zuckerberg, that's the reason Facebook happened. I don't know. And then it just blew up, with Twitter. And then, even with Dave Goldberg, when he did comedy live at Gotham Comedy Live. I forgot what.
Gotham Live, I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember talking to him one day. He goes, I'm in a bad place. I'm trying to find a host. And I said, well, who are you looking at? He goes, don't kill me. I said, why? He goes, the situation. You remember the situation from
the Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
said, are you fucking kidding me? And he goes, well, you know, the network wants him because he's got like 1 million followers.
Right.
So it's never been. So for people like us who are actual legitimate comics, I hope it goes back to just jokes, and they're really good.
Yeah.
The only question I had left is kind of a fun one. We talked about like destroying crowds and killing and everything, but have you ever had a show where you completely bombed and it was
No.
No.
40 years? 40 years.
No.
She
No.
killed every single time.
I've blocked it out. Well, you see, okay, so that's once again a very good question, Howard, because what I consider destroying is not what everyone else considers destroying. I'm very hard on myself. I'll have great shows. And people go, oh, you know, the younger ones, oh man, you killed it. Went, that wasn't killing. You haven't seen that. But yeah, I mean, I think we all, you know, especially when you're first in the business. Like if I'm bombing, okay, and I know this is going to sound really vain, but if I'm bombing, it's not me, it's the audience.
Yeah.
At this point in my career, you know what I mean? But right, but it is, you know.
Yeah, you've done these jokes. You know this
Right.
material, and it's crushed in front of 10 crowds, and now you're in front of one weird crowd, and they're just not getting it because the lighting's bad, or the sound's bad, or poorly set up room, whatever it is. You know, unfortunately it's cocky, but it's true. It's not us. We know what we're doing.
Well, I will tell you this: there was a show recently, well, not recently, but about. It was last year. I was down in Florida doing a couple of, and the first show we did was 2 different venues. I don't remember them because they all blur. But the first venue, great, crushed, everything was great. Second venue, it was like crickets. It was, you know, I mean, it was because you know, Harry, you probably heard your parents say this. They don't pay they don't pay us to do stand up. They pay us, first of all, to travel. That's number one, and to play for the shitty crowds. So there'll be nights where you walk off stage and you'll go, "Oh man, I really had to work," as opposed to when you walk on stage and they're like, "We love you, do whatever you want." But for the most part, every so often, of course, you'll always get, especially if you're trying new material. Because at my point in my career, at this point with the success I've had and being older, I don't care. I don't care if you laugh at me or not. I mean, like I remember I was at Dangerfields before it changed over. And there was a kid in the front row with his father, probably 17 years old. And he was like this. He was looking at me like this. And he just hated me. And then he started playing on his phone. I said, what are you doing? He goes, nothing. I said, give me the phone. He goes, no. And I took the phone from him. And I put it on the piano. You remember the old piano. And I said, and that's where it's staying. I said, because you know what? And he's like so mad at me. You could see. I go, I don't give a shit what you think about me. You'll get your fucking phone at the end of the show. And I will say this about the kid. At the end of the show, when we were standing around the bar, he apologized. He came up and he apologized. But that has to do with the fact that I just don't care. I know I'm good. Your parents are good. They're great comics. You know, if an audience doesn't like them, something's wrong with the audience. Period.
Right. And so that's what these young kids need to get to be good, is that I don't care attitude, because that's what makes you so good. It's the wanting to get that laugh that makes you, you know, not good. Like that's the part that's missing. And the only way to do it, you can talk all you want to these young kids and say, you know, you need to have that I don't care attitude. The only way you're going to get it is when you're a pro for 40 years.
True.
You know, not 40 years, but you know what I mean? Like stage time for that many years.
And the difference between the video comics, that's a good name for it, video comics. The video comics, as opposed to comics like us, is they're getting laughter from sketches or things they're saying on stage, saying onto the video. The only way you get good as a comic, you have to get on stage.
Yeah.
I can tell a difference because I don't go on stage a lot unless I'm touring with the show. I rarely go on and do, like, remember when we were started, we always had to do spots. Remember all that?
Yes.
When I'm rusty the first time I go and do a city spot. But by the end of the weekend, if I have a bunch of spots, I'm like, oh, that's why you do it. Even me, I've been doing it 40 years.
Right.
if you go on stage every night, which I would kill myself now if I had to do that, because I'm so lazy, Harry. I really am. I'm so lazy. But
I'm lazy
We all
too.
are.
and so, but there is a difference. You can, like whenever we've all played the Borgata, right? So whenever you go to the Borgata, if you have 7 shows and you're like, oh wow, that's what it must be like to go on stage and do 20 minutes. Because who does that anymore?
Yeah, you do get rusty for sure.
Yep.
It's like riding a bike. You got to get back on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Harry, let's close
But
us out.
yeah, thank you so much again, Carole. It was awesome. We went over time a little bit, but
Okay.
we'll figure it out. It'll just be
Mom will edit it down. She'll just
I'll
edit
edit
me
it
out
in
of the
post.
show. She always does.
Tell us where we can find it. We can find you. We can find everybody. And you're going to keep us posted on where we can see these shows.
Yes, I would assume that they Comedy Dynamics. I'm assuming they'll be posting stuff soon about it. But Carole Montgomery comic. There's the little poster right there.
Mhm.
You can
There's
go to
you
the
guys.
website. Funny Women of a Certain Age. You can go. I'm all over the place. I was out. Oh, that was a nice photo.
I love that photo. Put that photo up. I love that.
Yeah, that was that was so
That-
much fun. And you had your.
She was so sweet. She's so amazing, right?
Yes, she's like the best celebrity I've ever met. Well, I shouldn't say that because Terry and Caroline, of course, are great also. But Fran was like, considering, like, and I said this on the show, is like, considering she's my generation's Lucy, it was like, wow, she's just a very humble person. So, but yeah, you can follow me everywhere. And I love this. I want to come back. This was fun.
We want to have you back.
Super fun. Thank you so much for coming. And
All right.
yeah, what about you two guys? You guys are going on a military tour, right?
Oh,
Tomorrow morning we're leaving.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
They're going. If you know anybody based in Hawaii, go check them out. They're gonna be.
I think we're doing 4 in Hawaii, 2 in Guam, and then 5 in South Korea. So if you know
you're gonna
anybody
have
stationed,
so much fun. You're gonna have so much. Go to the
Oh, yeah.
DMZ. Go to the DMZ.
we will. I think we're gonna. One of the bases is right there, so
Yeah.
we're
They're
definitely
gonna
gonna
take
do
you
that.
to the DMZ. It's the weirdest. Well, I won't tell you.
I look forward to Korea because I'm going to feel tall for the first time in my life. So it'll be great.
Carol, any other advice? Because I know you did a bunch of
Yeah, I
tours
did a
Yeah.
within your 40 years.
just rest, because it's a lot. Is this your first tour?
Mine, Tom has
Okay.
done it.
I've done a few.
Just don't overdo it. Like, in other words, make sure, like, I literally, I think it was the Korean tour. At one point, like, we were just running around, because one of the great things about these tours is not just performing, it's meeting the troops and meeting everybody that, behind the bases and everything. And at one point we had like a 15-minute break before we had to go do something. I went, I'm going back to the barracks. And everyone was like, what? And I took a nap. I took like a 15-minute nap, because I was just, and drink a lot of water. Seriously. I know you hear that, but like all that stuff.
Okay, Mom.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so jealous. I can't even do one anymore, because I wouldn't be able to get out of the Blackhawk because of my knees, because that's what's great about being home. But have a great time. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see the pictures. Harry,
Thank you so much for coming on,
Thank
honey.
you so much.
Carole Montgomery, everybody. A
Carole.
legend.
We'll
All
see you
right.
guys.
I will see you.
Farewell.
Stay tuned for the next show, because just because they're going on a military tour does not mean we're going to stop doing these shows. We're going to check in on Carrie and Tom live during all their tours. So stay tuned for that for the next one. And you guys can say goodnight.
Well, that's it for this episode. That was a lot of fun. Carole's the best.
She is the best.
We're looking forward to our military tour, and we'll see you next time. Say goodnight, Carrie.
Good night, Carrie.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. Remember, life is like a comedy show. Sometimes you bomb, sometimes you shine. But you always blame your spouse on how they deliver the punchline. If you need to get in touch with us, email us at info.coupleoflaughs@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in. Keep laughing, because you never know. That could save your marriage. Good night. See you next time.